Man versus Slug.
This week we are mostly going to be focusing on getting things that are in pots and starting to look a bit pot bound into the ground, which may mean we'll have to dig some stuff up to make a little bit of space. Our cucumbers have got really big in the pots now. We've left them in pots for quite some time because last year one of our cucumbers actually got eaten by the woodlice that are on the greenhouse floor. So these are now going to go into the ground because the jungle has started growing and we're unlikely to be able to get around the back much longer. So they're going to go down the back of the greenhouse and my boy is going to be planting them because I can't get past the string. That is all the cucumbers in, so now we just need to give them good water because it's quite dry. Before we water, I'm just going to trim off some of the leaves of the tomato. We're just near the ground. This is one of our determinate tomatoes, so we're not too bothered about the amount it's going to grow, but it's just these leaves on the ground get a lot of weight. They're not really getting much in the way of light anyway. So we'll just take a few off and that will keep hands getting in the way. Some of the sort of disease from the ground off the plant, hopefully. Something like that. Trimmed the base of the tomatoes, taking off all of the sort of lower leaves to allow a bit of airflow. And I've left the leaves on the floor by way of a mulch, really. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but we'll find out, I'm sure. And everything's watered now. Also, a little bit more sort of stringing. There were some suckers coming off these tomatoes, really down by the base, and they were starting to lie on the floor. So I've just tied those ones up as well. Didn't want to cut them off because they're starting to flower. This week, my children found some spray paint in the shed and asked if they could paint the wheelbarrow because it was starting to look a little bit tired. So we said they could. And now, I have the most bling wheelbarrow you've ever seen. Mission Impossible Slug trying to find its way into the greenhouse via the watering can. We're pretty keen to get the pumpkins in because they're looking quite yellow. I think they don't really have enough nutrients in the pot. So we're going to take out some of the potatoes, regardless of how ready they are. We're going to see what they look like, and if they're not very big, we'll leave the rest to grow, being kind of pessimistic about the size of bowl that we're going to need for these studs.
You got one.
Oh, look, that's the sort of size we're after. Shame the rest of them on that plant tiny. So as I understand it, with the no-dig gardening, the aim is not to have to dig up the studs, but because we've planted them on the surface, if we pull gently, hopefully we get all of them without breaking the plant off. Something like that. And we got some pretty good sizes of potato going on in there. We got a reasonably adequate haul of potatoes. We managed to fill the bowl full with just one row and maybe a second plant from the middle row just to make a bit of space. But now we've got space for growing the pumpkins. And some of these potatoes are tiny. I think there's a lot of potential, but they're going to take another few weeks. So we'll put the pumpkins in where we've got the space and leave the rest of the potatoes to carry on growing. I'm putting the pumpkin right on the edge of the vegetable patch here. My hope is that as this thing grows, we can get it to trail out across the garden, maybe even try and grow it vertically up into the tree above. And that won't take up too much space in the vegetable patch itself. It'll have its roots up in here. and the base of the plant to be away from the slugs. I'm pretty sad about the Swiss chard. A lot of the leaves have this leaf mining insect in them. So I'm trimming them off to try and keep the plants as healthy as possible. Get rid of the insect that's growing inside the leaves, but I think we're going to end up with very, very few leaves, and I'm not sure that these plants are really going to survive. We may have to just reseed it and try again.
Well, we didn't get a huge amount done this week, but look at these pumpkins. They are looking so much happier now they're in the ground and we've got these beautiful flowers on them. Well, that's it for this week, and hope that you join us again on Man vs. Slug next week.